Welcome back to Aaron's 1972 Datsun 510. I went ahead and took this side molding off thanks to Jordan Payne, who's got a YouTube channel that I will throw down below. I saw what he did, and while I really love the design of adding some accent here, I'm going to have to replace this fender anyway, and the rear one didn't have this and I lost it, so I'm going to have to buy a new one of these anyway. So for the next couple months as I look for new fenders, I'm going to run without it and see what it looks like. We're actually getting really close to getting the car done. Some things that I've done off camera is I hooked up all the lighting for the front, a little bit for the back, and did a few others, and obviously pulled this trim off. What I'm going to do is get the old glue off here, and then I'm going to I have things written up here. I've got to raise the front of the car and actually tighten up the inner hubs. I didn't actually tighten those specifications when I put them on, so I'm going to fix that before I drive. I want to put the front bumpers on. I want to finish installing the stereo. And one of my taillights, specifically the reverse light, is staying on whenever I turn on the lights, so I'm going to see about fixing that. Also, the radio fans aren't turning on whenever I flip on the switch, so I'm going to fix that. Love whenever the SD card fails. I'm also going to laser engrave myself a few items such as new center caps here just to cover the Z, and then some switches inside the car. But I should hopefully be driving this car. I might go get fuel today in this car. I've also got to put on the fuel filler cover. So I got to find the little two nuts that hold that on. I don't know where they went. I'll find them, or I'll figure something out. Lots of little jobs. I had the car up and running for a solid 30, 45, probably 20 minutes last night, just making sure the heater works and everything like that. So it does. I'm pretty excited. Oh, and I've got to replace the windshield wiper blades. They are trash. But with that, let's go ahead and get to clean the dirt and stuff off of here, and once I get that done, I'll then actually just go through and just sort of use my hand to buff off this old glue. That seems to be, to me, the best way to get that done, and once I do that, we'll go from there. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, and we're going to see about putting it on the car along with the other one that's right over there. So we'll go ahead and get that put together. Very little to say on this back portion. The bumpers were sort of a pain in the butt to get back on the car, but they went on just fine. I did have to drill an additional level of hole through the drop panel on the back portion there that you saw on the outside. But other than that, it was just getting them lined up and then massaging the bolts back into place and tightening them up. And then moving to the front of the car and doing the same thing. Well, that might have been sort of boring for you, but front and rear bumpers are on, and I tightened up the front hubs to the appropriate level. So you tighten them to about 22 foot-pounds, and then you loosen them back about 40 to 70 degrees. So I went about 60 degrees on each of those hubs. So now whenever I lift the tires, I should be able to go back and forth and shake it and not have the hub or the wheel sort of rock back and forth. Now that I think about it, I'm going to try that now. The passenger side was the side that actually was giving me caution or making me nervous, so that's the one I'm most concerned about, but I will obviously try them both. So raise wheels up in the ground, or from the ground, take this out. Oh yeah, much better. Grab them from the top and the bottom of the wheel, or the sides. You should not be having the hub go back and forth, which I don't. That's good news. So this is ready to go back down on the ground. So let's go ahead and lower it. All right. Look at that. Car back down on the ground. Let's go lower the back. Alright, so I'm going to put this back shield that covers the fuel tank in the car. I've already scrubbed it a little bit with some degreaser, and I sprayed down the top plastic with a little bit of brake cleaner. I just wanted to show you this. Check this out. Again, I don't know if this is actually going to work, but... the whole trunk of the car was just coated in like grease, gasoline nastiness. Just trying to clean up the car a little bit. This is what the whole entire plastic area did too. That nasty tar stuff that they put on the rest of the trunk. Trying to... I cannot begin to describe how gross this piece was. I was so grateful to get it cleaned out. It has really made the interior or the trunk of my car much nicer when you open it daily. Visually, I don't know how much different it looks on camera, but here in person, this is a much smoother finish and appearance, and it doesn't have that grimy, nasty, oily deal. It looks like I got a few little spots right here that I need to finish cleaning up that I missed. But just look at all of this. Like, it's just ludicrous the amount of grossness that came off this thing. So I'm going to finish up this corner, and then we'll put the panel back in. I need to remove all of the nuts and screws that I left in. So there's one down here, one right here, 2 nuts back there, and 1 screw right here, and 1 screw right here. So we'll go ahead and take those out, have those ready, and then we'll put them back in when we put these in. Alright, this is not the right size of screwdriver for that. What about here? It's better for up here. Oh, that's annoying. That time. Reach back here. We got these. These have a nut and 2 washers. Nut. 2 washers. Okay. All those pieces are out. And move this. We'll actually need to get that screw out. Got it. Just didn't pick it up. Alright, so now that's there. Put this back sort of in the spot. Of course. Alright. Okay, here's that. Goes like that. Okay, that goes there. Alright. Go ahead and put these nuts on first. These 2 upper screws. Screws. All right. That's put back in. Let's keep moving. Okay, so when this speaker sits in the car, this little spot up here sort of hits against the inner piece of the door, and so I'm just going to cut along the bottom part here and right here, just so it slips into that area easier. I covered this top part of the magnet so that way all the dust or metal shavings that come off don't sit against the magnet and sit there, so that way I can just peel this off and get rid of all the dust. Now we're going to go ahead and see about getting this all taken apart, or not all taken apart, but all cut apart. Just putting it on this so that way it stays still. Okay. The tin snips were a new idea that I just had as I was working on it. Last time I sort of cut at an angle. This tin snips work way better. Hopefully they didn't mess up the things too much. I'll be honest, guys, like, it's an old Datsun. I just want to be able to hear my music at least a little bit, so and listen to my audiobooks while I drive to work. So I'm hoping that this will help, and then we'll go from that. And I'm actually going to install the same stereo that I put in the Figaro in this thing. So let's go ahead and get this installed in the door after we solder on the wires. So there's a boatload of random wires here, so we're going to sort of try to minimize this as best we can. So you can see this was what was plugged into the old stereo. This was a different stereo, and you can see the right rear speakers and all this other kind of stuff. Well, like, they're not, I don't think they're actually connected. This looks like this was another wire set. So let's look at this one. So this is to the front right. Okay. Now this front right. Move that out of the way. Now this, which was to, I don't know what. We have this one, looks like to, this was to the driver's side one, so we'll sort of bring that wiring forward a little bit here. Just plenty of space here for all the wires. Okay, so these are really the only two speakers that are plugged in. There's this and this, and then you see here's a ground going somewhere. Here's probably the accessory or memory. So this is going to be 12 volt constant, and then there's this one that's likely just the stereo itself. So for power, that's really all we need for now. So we'll go ahead and trim these. We might actually have enough wire here. No, we don't. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the rest of this console wiring and see what we're working with here. I hate these things, by the way. I'm not a fan. We're going to see how we can minimize the rest of this stuff. I do want to keep these fuses here if at all possible, so I'll probably clip these. I think that might have been the original Datsun, or at least adapter for the Datsun, but I'm going to get rid of it because you can buy these. Guys, that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you for watching, and in the next video we're probably going to start looking at the transmission. I thought there was an issue inside the transmission that was causing some problems. It is not the transmission that's causing the problems, but the good news is you'll get to go along with me as I rebuild the transmission that I didn't need to rebuild. How wonderful is that? Thanks for sticking around.